Hi, and welcome back to Physician's Corner for this month. I think a hot topic on everybody's mind has remained COVID-19 vaccination. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of good news since we last spoke here. In the last 6 weeks, we've been able to really scale up vaccinations in Niagara now that we've got a much more vaccine supply. The biggest thing that has meant is that we in public health are now operating mass clinics, which I'm sure you're well aware of. And thank you to all of you who've been volunteers in our clinics and helped these clinics run. We really couldn't have done it without you. We've, of course, continued to do vaccinations in retirement homes, long-term care homes with second doses. And again, thank you for being part of those efforts. And thank you also for some of the efforts you've taken to actually lead vaccination in some of our congregate care settings. As well, of course, many of you are now doing vaccinations in your practice as well, and pharmacies are doing vaccinations. And altogether, every one of us is doing close to 4,000 vaccinations a day together, which is really great news. We see every week that the percentage of Niagara residents who are vaccinated goes up by about 5%, and we're closing in on about 150,000 of our residents having gotten a first dose of vaccine as I'm recording this. So that is really excellent news. We're making great progress here. Right now, we're still finishing off some of our phase 1 vaccination groups, particularly the Indigenous and people who are home care recipients, while making a big start now on the second phase of vaccination, particularly the age groups of 60 and above in our mass clinics and 40 above in primary care offices and pharmacies. As well, we started to vaccinate some of the highest risk health conditions, people who are transplant patients, people who have poor kidney functions, neurological diseases that affect breathing. Those persons are now able to be vaccinated as well. And once we work through those, we'll move on to other high-risk conditions and eventually then to people who are in essential industries who can't work from home, probably closer to June. So there's a lot of different groups coming up for vaccination in the near future. Now, most of you are delivering AstraZeneca vaccine in your practices if you're doing vaccination. And there's been a lot of controversy around this. The fortunate news is Health Canada has reviewed the data and they've reaffirmed that the vaccine is safe for anybody who's 18 and above. So consistent with Ontario policy, if you have patients who are 40 and above in your practice, and particularly if any patients 18 and above who have those high-risk conditions, they're eligible to get the vaccination, which is really good news and a way you can really support them. The National Advisory Committee on Immunizations is doing a little bit more work to see if they want to prioritize AstraZeneca vaccine to certain population groups versus other groups. So we'll still wait to hear some of what comes from them. But the key message is this vaccine is safe to give to all patient groups. We just need to be aware that the issue of blood clots in the brain is a possibility, and we need to monitor for symptoms of that when those do occur, which is quite rarely. Now, there are many people who are still concerned about AstraZeneca vaccine, and so it's, I think, important we do a lot of work to help break down some of the hesitancy some of our patients might be having. It's really important that we engage with our patients, understand their concerns around this vaccine, and help give them some of the information around this condition, particularly how rare it is, so that they're aware of whether or not they should get it. Of course, a key thing is that AstraZeneca vaccine, or any vaccine, is best if you get it. It's in providing protection. So the earlier you can get your vaccine, the better you're going to be. As we continue to onboard more primary care practices, we'll hopefully be able to see more coming on in a rolling manner. Having training on COVAX is a priority, so make sure you reach out to Ontario MD if you're thinking of starting up so that you can get the training to do that. So you're all set to enter data once you start delivering vaccine. And if you want to be part of the rollout in the next few weeks, please reach out to us at hcpengagement@niagararegion.ca so we can start to work with you to make sure you're ready to go as soon as we get the vaccine to get delivered to you so you can start vaccinating your patients as soon as possible. Moving away from vaccination, we've of course seen a very big rise of cases in Niagara and really across the province, unfortunately. And we're seeing some really bad news in our hospitals about how stretched they are. I think this really highlights the importance that we need to make sure we're emphasizing that people need to continue to do all those things that are going to limit the spread of infection, particularly staying home, having social contact with only their households. And of course, when they're outside of their home doing those essential activities such as shopping, etc., they make sure they're keeping 2 meters distance, they're wearing that mask, they're sanitizing their hands frequently, making sure we keep practicing all those precautions. The vaccine rollout is eventually going to help us slow the spread of infection, but it's not going to get us there in the next week or two. It's unfortunately necessary we really stay home one last time and limit our social contacts until we have time to get that vaccine rollout out there, and at least have time that enough people are protected from vaccine that we can start to lift some of these measures again. If you can reemphasize the importance of that to your patients, I think that will really help make sure we all pull together during this last difficult time in this pandemic. Lastly, if you have any thoughts or things that you'd like us to cover in these videos, please let us know. Please feel free again to email HCP Engagement with any thoughts you have of what you'd like to do. Finally, I just want to thank you again for all of your partnership and collaboration over the last year during this pandemic and ongoing as we move forward through the vaccination campaign. The way we protect our population and we care for them is really by all of us working together, and we've really valued and appreciate how we've been able to work together through this past year, and we look forward to being even stronger as we exit this pandemic and start to work on many other health issues. So thank you for that.